Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. How are we doing on a Victory Monday? Today we got some overreactions, some rumors, and injury news after the Texans' 36-29 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And isn't it just so sweet? Doesn't it feel great to wake up on a Monday knowing your team won a game that they shouldn't have won? They clawed back, and it was maybe one of the best comebacks we've ever seen by a Houston Texans team. I mean, I woke up, and I had to pinch myself. I had to say, hey, was that a dream? I had to go look and check the box score one more time. But no, it was not a dream. Your Houston Texans pulled off an just miraculous victory in Week 10. And if yesterday was one of the craziest wins you've ever seen as a Texans fan, because usually we're on the other side of it. I'm not going to lie. We're usually on the other side of these crazy victories. Go down and like the video. If that was one of the craziest wins you've ever seen as a Texans fan, go down and hit that like button. As we get into our rumors on today's show, if you're new to the program, this is how we kind of measure out our rumors and storylines on the show. If I give something 0 heads or fake news, not happening. 1 Toro head, a small shred of truth, all the way up to 4 Toro heads. H-Town, hold it down. If I give something 4 Toro heads, it is happening. So, the first overreaction to this Jags win, and we've got to talk about it. Davis Mills, should he be the starter for your Houston Texans moving forward? Fake news. I love Davis Mills. I'm so happy he's our backup quarterback, and what a win. I'm so happy Davis Mills is a member of the Houston Texans, and I'm just so grateful for his gutsy performance yesterday. That 14-yard rushing touchdown. I was telling producer Colin before that, if you gave me 30 guesses on what that final play would be from the 14-yard line, a Davis Mills 20-yard rushing touchdown probably wouldn't have even made the top of my mind or the top of that list. I don't even know if it would have been in the top 100 guesses. He played good. 60% completion percentage, 292 yards, 1 interception, 3 touchdowns in total, 1 rushing and 2 passing touchdowns. And the Texans, the offense looked much better. And the second half offense for that Texans squad yesterday looked fantastic. Not only with Davis Mills, but running the ball as well. But let's be honest with ourselves. Davis Mills, he's a great quarterback, but he's not a quarterback that we're going to ride into the playoffs. He's not a quarterback that is going to take this franchise from where it's at to the next level. I think Davis Mills could be a low-end starter for a franchise in the NFL. I think he could definitely, be a guy who gets a team to a wild card game. But in terms of beating the Goliaths in the AFC, beating the Patrick Mahomes, beating the Josh Allens, beating the Lamar Jacksons of the NFL, you need C.J. Stroud. And you need C.J. Stroud at the peak of his powers. And, he's coming back from a concussion. I think it would be smart to try to play him this week up against the Titans. The offense has something rolling, and maybe see if CJ, a little bit of a slump buster up against the worst team in the NFL at this moment. I need this Texans team to take this game seriously, because we always talk about trap games. This is the trap game amongst all trap games. We're playing the worst team in the NFL, and then we play the Bills on Thursday Night Football. It would be very easy for a lot of Texans players to overlook the Titans and look forward to that Buffalo Bills matchup on Thursday Night Football. But I don't think DeMeco will let that happen. Hopefully, I think this Texans team will be ready to go up against Tennessee. But the question remains, who should start that game up against the Tennessee Titans? Be honest with me, and I'm not going to shame you if you say one way or the other. I could see you saying you want to ride the hot hand with Davis Mills for this week. Let C.J. Stroud fully recover from that concussion, because he did get knocked out up against the Broncos. But if he's good to go, I'm spamming my 7 down below. Let me know your thoughts, though, down below in the comments section. This is going to be the pinned comment, so if you get hit with the YouTube ad break, all good. Scroll on down and let me know. All right, let's get to our next overreaction after the Jags win. Should the Texans move Tytus Howard to left guard? I'm actually going to give this one 2 Toro heads, and I'm saying there's a chance that it could happen. Now, yesterday, the mishmash of offensive linemen that the Texans threw together was this up against Jacksonville. They had the only starters really at their solidified spots were Aireontae Ersery at left tackle, Jake Andrews at center. Jarrett Patterson played left guard. Scruggs played right guard, which I will say they started City So for some reason. He is horrible. I don't want to see him start another game for this Texans team at one of the guard spots. But Scruggs got more than 85% of the snap count there at that right guard spot. And then they played Trent Brown at the right tackle position. And the thought is, are the Texans better with Trent Brown as the right tackle and then Tytus Howard as the left guard? And something that I noticed rewatching that game yesterday, the Texans' run game, especially in the second half, got going, and they were able to move guys off the line for the first time in a long time. And that's been the problem with this Texans team. Like, before yesterday, inside the 5-yard line, the Texans hadn't scored a touchdown whenever they had the ball inside the 5 for their past 10 attempts. Until yesterday when they got that rushing touchdown with Woody Marks. But I saw the Texans offensive line move people a little bit better. Now, I will say Trent Brown in pass protection is not as good as Tytus Howard at tackle. He's just not. And that's the problem that you lie in, that Tytus Howard is a better tackle than he is a guard as well. I think he plays the right tackle position much better than he does one of the guard spots. Now, the other part is Trent Brown has only played the tackle position. He has not played guard once in his NFL career. So that's why I can kind of see it from both sides. It's like, do you keep Trent Brown and have a little bit of a better rushing attack, sacrifice a little bit in the pass blocking game, but you do go a lot of those jumbo packages with Blake Fisher at tight end as well, and put Tytus Howard in at that left guard? Or do you, once Ed Ingram comes back, once everybody comes back, just say, hey, we're going to go with the original Tytus Howard, Ed Ingram, Jake Andrews, and then I would put Scruggs at that left guard spot. He's played pretty well, in my opinion. And then Aireontae Ersery. But it's a tough decision. It's a tough decision because I could see the argument for both sides. I could see, hey, you want a better running game, and Trent Brown, I think, gives you a little bit more, power, a little bit more, beef along the front line, but not as good as a pass protector as Tytus Howard. So I could see both sides of that argument, and I'm interested to see what the Texans do this week with guys returning like Ingram and possibly Tytus Howard. Now, coming up, more injury news for your Houston Texans, plus one more overreaction from that Jaguars win yesterday. Before we get into all that, couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our amazing sponsor over at Prize Picks. Get started today with America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. The weather, it is a changing, but the feeling of being right, that never gets old. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 on Prize Picks when you use our code CLNS. And it's super simple to play. All you got to do, go more or less on a 2-player stat projections, and you could cash in big time. Kind of like your boy did yesterday, because if you weren't watching, I put together the lineup of all lineups. And we didn't think it was gonna land. We didn't think it was gonna win. But in the second half, we got the dub because Davis Mills threw a touchdown. Nico Collins had his longest reception of 54 yards. Travis Etienne, this is the one I was on pins and needles for, producer Cullen. His first rush was 3 yards. I had less than 3.5 yards. And then Trevor Lawrence, I had more on the interception, and my boy Stingley came in clutch with that one-hander. And it made watching the game just that much more fun. So join the millions of users today and get started with America's #1 fantasy sports app out there. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Last overreaction, the Texans, are they in the playoff hunt? Playoffs? 4 Toro heads, yes, they are in the hunt. And I don't care how pessimistic you want to be. I don't care if you're like, oh, it's a win against the Jags, this, that, or the other. The numbers don't lie. And the numbers telling me right now in the AFC playoff picture is that we're a game out. The Jags are the 7th seed at 5-4. We're at 4-5. We are 1 game out from a wild card position. So you're telling me there's a chance. There is definitely a chance for this Texans squad. Maybe the AFC South division is a little out of reach with the Colts getting that win yesterday in Germany. I'm still really pissed at the Falcons for not coming through for me on that one, but you are still in it. You are in the thick of things in this AFC playoff race, and all it takes is that spark. All all it takes is a couple wins kind of strung together, and you're right back in it, baby. So, yes, the Texans are 100% in the playoff hunt, and I don't care if we're a wild card team. I don't care this, that, and the other. All you need to do is make it to the dance. That's all you need to do. If you can make it to the dance, that's all you can ask for. And then it's one-game seasons each and every week. Can you win, and can you advance? That's the big question, and the Texans luckily are still with that question in hand on whether or not they're going to make the playoffs. I'm just so happy that they won yesterday. All right, before we get going, let's look at some injuries, some injury watches that we got to watch for this week up against the Titans. We already talked about these two at the top. C.J. Stroud dealing with a concussion, same with Tytus Howard. So both those guys will be in the final stages of the concussion protocols. We'll have to see how their practice regimen looks this week. Ed Ingram was out this week with a knee injury, so another name to monitor because he has been playing really good at the right guard spot, and if he's out again, that kind of brings that question. Do you put Tytus Howard at one of the guard spots and put Trent Brown in at tackle? That's where it really comes in as well, as if Ed Ingram is out at that right guard spot. Fairbairn dealing with a leg injury. Is he going to be back this week up against the Titans? The kicker, Matthew Wright, I mean, no complaints here. He played really well. So not too worried about that. And if he can take another week off and keep that leg a little bit better for later on in the season, I'd be okay with that. And then Jalen Pitre also out this week. So that is going to be a big name to look at, especially with the injury that happened yesterday. MJ Stewart went down, was carted off. It is confirmed a torn quad, and he is going to be out for the remainder of the season. And that is a big blow because the Texans had him as the backup originally to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And whenever they released him, MJ Stewart was the next man up. And now the next man up is out. So now we're looking for the next man up. Could it be somebody on the Texans practice squad? Miles Bryant filled in really well yesterday. I thought he played pretty decently for this Texans squad in stay for MJ Stewart. The Texans went a lot more 4-3 looks, though. With that, they went a lot more 3 linebacker sets, especially with Pitre out yesterday as well, whenever MJ Stewart went out. So I wonder if they go a little bit more 3 linebacker sets with Jalen Pitre back. Something to be seen. But also another injury that we could be looking at this week is Jimmy Ward. Will he return for this Texans squad? Has not played a single game this season. Was dealing with an injury, a foot injury this offseason, also with some legal battles, but those are behind him. The foot injury hopefully getting a little bit better. And Nick Caserio was saying, Jimmy Ward's a couple weeks from being back in this lineup. That was a couple weeks ago. So I'll be looking for Jimmy Ward on the practice squad if he'll be able to return this week for this Houston Texans squad. If not, I think we might have to look on the outside for some more help in the secondary. So I don't want to extend this video extra long. I'm super happy about the win. But I was thinking, do we do an MJ Stewart replacement video? Do we look at the top safeties that the Texans could add in free agency from other teams' practice squads, this, that, and the other? If that's something you want, and if you made it to the end of today's video, 1, thanks for watching, but 2, spam those H's in the comments section so I can show you some love and I can see who wants another video on the top safety replacements for this Texans squad. That's all I have for you on today's show. If you made it to the end of today's show, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are rolling on, trying to get to 40,000 subscribers by the end of this month, maybe by the end of December. Can we get there? Hey, all I need is you to go down and hit that sub button for free Texans content all year long.